Hi everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of Inspiration Woman. This month, obviously, it's a double act, and needless to say, I was introduced to these lovely, amazing ladies pretty much the first day at my job here at DIT. The email went something like, you have to be introduced to Jen and Helen at the Australian British Chamber of Commerce. Exactly, right? But that's not why they're all here. They're here because they have so much in common and they have so much to share. They've both grown up in the UK, they moved to Australia, but definitely a highlight is that you are a great example of resilience during these trying times. But more than that, something I've really loved about the two of you is your friendship and how that always shines through no matter what. So welcome to
Thank you.
Jennifer Cremont and Helen McLean. Now that I've mentioned the ABCC, let's start there. Helen, when did you join the ABCC and how has that journey been for you?
So I joined the ABCC coming up to about 4 years ago now. So I came on as membership and marketing manager, which I still am. And at the time it was quite a tiny company. We had the CEO, David McCready, and Jen was there as the event manager. And we had our colleague Helen down in Melbourne, who was event manager also. And since then we've really built out the company. There's been an office opened up in Perth. And we've brought on Paul Wright, head of commercial partnerships. We've got Jenny Garber, head of programming, Catherine Spence, head of international programs, and we've got a wonderful team assistant, Erica, as well. So I think that since we've been that sort of example of how the Chamber's grown, and alongside it, the membership, the amount of events we've put on, we've added international programs, large in that program out. We've added a few more wonderful sponsors like New South Wales Government, Victorian Government. Alongside that, marketing's built up, and then also on top of that, with the EU, UK leaving the EU, has meant that we've opened up the opportunity for a free trade agreement between Australia and the UK, which has meant that the Chamber's been able to work some really fantastic projects on work between the two countries to try and make sure that our members' priorities are kind of expressed in that.
That's pretty amazing because your title is one thing and yet you are across everything. So I'll come back to that a little later on, definitely. But I also wanted to ask Jen, so clearly you were there before Helen. How has that experience been for you?
Yep, so I'm 5.5 years. That was definitely not the plan to be here this long, but I still love every moment. In my first year I actually did Helen's role, so I was the marketing membership manager at the beginning. And then the events manager position came up after about a year, and I thought that's actually for me. So as much as I love the role that Helen does, the events is definitely something that I'm stronger at. So so still the event manager after about 4.5 years. Love it. The fact that I'm still here, I think, is because of course the people I work with, my work wife, but also the sort of vast array of industries that the Chamber cover, as you know, as you do at DIT, putting on events for just all types of people. So, and it's all the different industries. We're covering infrastructure, healthcare, technology, cybersecurity. Like you're never bored, And the people that we get to meet, whether it's the members themselves or just the attendees at the events, or the speakers, the government politicians. Our personal networks are amazing. And it's not just me as the event manager that gets to meet these people, Helen and our colleagues all do at the events. And that's not touching on the real fun stuff, the whiskey tastings, the gin tastings, the wine and cheese nights.
I definitely recommend one of those, definitely.
And I think my favourite is definitely the sporting events. So anyone that knows me, massively into my sports. So when Scotland came out to play the Wallabies a few years ago, we got to put on a reception for them. So that was definitely my favourite event. And just to remind everyone, that Scotland did beat the Wallabies when they were out.
Hardly noted.
And when the Ashes are on, we always do big events and they're always really popular. So that's definitely the fun stuff. And that's also not touching on all the politicians, the government ministers that we've done lots with, and we work very closely with DIT on those. Boris Johnson, Dominic Raab, Julie Bishop, Scott Morrison. Just to be able to say that I've hosted events for these people is an absolute privilege. So I couldn't agree more. And if
any of you have been to an ABCC event, you'd know that they're spectacular. It's organized to a T, and pretty much the two of you are the glue, I think, that holds it together. And that's something we all think so. And it's pretty cool because I've seen you put guest lists together overnight. I've seen you rearrange table plans literally with 5 seconds to spare of that event starting, and definitely seen Jen run across the room with dietary requirement plates and lunch and
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? Yeah.
Every event.
Every single one.
And I'm sure you've done that to me before.
May have.
I'm sure it was you.
Yeah, it was definitely me one time.
You know how to stress the event manager out.
I do apologize though. Yeah, I had one of them. But events, as we know, has changed. And I think when we look at the past few months, I mean, I haven't been to a physical event in at least since March. And even now, people are very cautious, and I think it's great that the two of you have shown so much of resilience, and you've pretty much reinvented in your own little way how to kind of, you know, move forward in this space. So, Jen, I really wanted to ask you, when you look back to March, April, how do you feel about that? What did you go through?
Yeah, so it feels like a lifetime ago actually, but at the same time I do remember it well. It was about the 16th of March or something. We came on a Monday morning, all still in the office, and there was an event going on, I think the following day in Perth, at a law firm, and they decided to cancel it. And I thought, oh, it's just the lawyers being, being lawyers. And I thought my events this week will be fine. And then I think the next day I was like, oh no, it got quite apparent like this was serious, and we were cancelling everything. So I think for the following month everything went into sort of crisis management, working out, okay, what had to be postponed. We were using the word postponed rather than cancelled. We were obviously hopeful at that stage. This is all while David McCready, our CEO, is stuck in London trying to get on a flight back to Sydney. So I think he got the last BA flight back and he did his home quarantine. But so we didn't have a CEO for a couple of days. So really proud of our team for coming together and working out, okay, we just got to act without him for now. So yeah, that was a crazy week, and then it was really quick. We kicked into probably at the end of that week, the following week. Okay, well we need to convert online because it got apparent that we weren't coming out of this anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we were brainstorming ideas for virtual events, and I had to do a bit of research on the virtual event platforms, which I'd never used before. I mean, David and I spoke about doing something with the UK years ago, but I thought, oh, that's too hard. I don't know the technology. I'll just continue doing what we're doing, and until you're forced to, you have to learn to do it virtually. So I had to research all the different software. We chose what we're still using. I had to integrate that with the website and our Salesforce CRM. Working in such a small team, we don't have the benefit of having an IT person to do all that for you. I am the IT person,
you
as is Helen.
Yeah.
We should just add that to a resume. So yeah, there was a lot of learning, and in many ways I was that person implementing those sort of processes up front. But yeah, we were one of the first chambers to really convert virtually, convert our whole event programme, and really proud of us. And we've done more events. It'll be really interesting to look at the number of events we've done this year at the end of the year, because we've definitely done a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Helen, do you feel like that was very similar for you in your role and how that kind of worked out in the team? And do you feel a lot has changed?
Yeah, I'd say that similar, obviously, the initial lockdown, there was that huge amount of uncertainty, and really everyone kind of scrabbling for information and making sure that people in certain sectors knew how to deal with certain issues that were coming up. So I found that from the marketing perspective, where before the marketing that I've produced for the Chamber has been very much thought leadership in certain sectors, government information, and sort of summaries of events that we've run or some speakers' topics. It moved very quickly into being really vital information about, government health advice. The British High Commission was doing amazing work here trying to get Brits home and vice versa. So making sure that was sort of all relayed kind of correctly. Also our members, we've got some amazing members, like professional, absolute sort of thought leaders in their fields, who were able to give it guidance, whether it's in sort of legal or employment law or travel or, just amazing amount of sectors.
Yeah.
So they were coming to me saying, how can we get this information out to the members? So I was scrabbling around making sure that I moved from doing a monthly newsletter to a weekly newsletter. Social media channels were, being hammered with all sort of much information as I could, but also trying to sort of sift through it all. And at the same time, from the membership perspective, really trying to be making sure that we're in touch with members and, being there for them and doing anything we can for them. So it certainly was the busiest I've ever been in the role.
Yeah, I've never seen Helen so busy. And still is.
And still is.
Yeah.
I still am. So it's as we've all become a lot more secure about the way the world is now and how to continue with business and what the restrictions are. But there's still an amazing amount of, I think the engagement has come through a lot more with the members, particularly digitally, where before we would all rely on seeing each other in person and be able to share ideas or meet so-and-so. And now that's a lot more virtual. But everyone's really agile and moved towards it, and I feel that marketing has maintained a sort of really high importance in what we do.
Because that's very interesting you say that, because I think everyone's job has changed in some degree or form. And I know in our own organisation we're looking to the future now, what that looks like. So when you guys, as part of the chamber, look at the next 12 months, what do you see? How do you see that picture change, or has it really changed for you?
So I'd definitely like to say, and I'm very hopeful and confident that we will be doing physical events. Yeah. You will be coming to stress me out at the registration desk. I'm hopeful for that. I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss being able to control. That's good things that I can control. You're stressing me out, but I can control it. Whereas if my speaker is in London and their internet goes down, I can't go and grab them and put them next. If my speaker's on the stage in a physical event and they run off the stage, I'll just run after them. So that, there's pros and cons of both. But in terms of 12 months' time, very hopeful to be doing physical events. Who knows if they'll ever be at the scale? But there'll definitely be a hybrid. The virtual way of working, and I know lots of people have webinar fatigue, they're using that word, but we've definitely not found that at the Chamber, and that's sort of credit to us for having amazing speakers that we're getting, the attendees are not dropping off. So, the access to the UK for us, we obviously want British speakers to speak for us, and in the old pre-COVID day we have to rely on them, visiting the UK. Oh, please can you come and work? Please can you come and speak for us if they've got time in their programme. Whereas now we can just send off an email. They might not have even heard of us before, and can you just give us an hour of your time, just log into Zoom, no problem. So the access to the speakers has just been so valuable, and we'll continue to do those types of events for that reason. Also, the quality of the attendees in many ways is easier to get the sort of CEOs that you want. So as we all know, CEOs are busy people, they're travelling around domestically, internationally. For me to get them to the VIP table at a business lunch or to a boardroom lunch, it's hard to get them. They're not there at the time. Whereas they could be anywhere in the world, and I'm only asking them to come on for 1 hour. Whereas you're asking in the traditional world, it's 2 hours, come for a 2-hour lunch and wine. They don't want that. They're getting invited to lunches every day. They're not bothered about the 2 courses and the wine. So they just get to come on to Zoom for 1 hour, have that connection to the speaker, ask their question, away they go. So 12 months' time, we'll be doing a hybrid of them both, and I'm excited for that.
And what are your thoughts, Helen? Do you agree with Jen, or do you see a completely different picture?
No, I completely agree with Jen. I think it's now that we've seen how possible it is and how engaged people are in the programme in both senses, it's really encouraging to know that we could possibly run concurrently. And I know from a personal perspective as well, I think that it's great to see how working from home has been able to maintain our business structure. We've actually been much more in touch with our colleagues in other states than we have before. Our group meetings now, we get to see them, and so I feel like we're a lot more of a cohesive company. So I would hope that in 12 months' time, there's still an understanding of the possibilities of working from home and how valuable that can be for the company as well.
No, that's wonderful, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the two of you at a registration table. hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Now that we've looked to the future, I really want to look way back to your past, growing up, childhood. One other thing you have in common is Scotland, from what I hear. Did you both grow up there? Were you raised there? What's the story?
Well, I'll start, because I think it's probably a lot of people are quite confused when I say that I'm from Scotland, because of the very, very plumbing accent. But actually, so I grew up the northwest of Scotland, the far, far North Highlands, middle of nowhere. You have to actually get a ferry to get to my house. So
That's wonderful. Let's do that.
Perfect for COVID.
yeah, so you can imagine my parents haven't been terribly affected.
I'm like, yeah, we're fine.
Nothing's changed.
But I went to school in Scotland, but on the east coast of Scotland, a boarding school, and that was an international school. So that was a really great experience. And then from there, I went to university in Edinburgh. So I sort of my growing up has sort of taken part all over Scotland.
That's really nice that you get to travel a little bit within Scotland. But,
Yes, definitely.
And now you went up here, but we'll come back to that. When we talk about Jen, this is something very interesting because I know you love sports, and I'm pretty sure you had a fantastic childhood with different stories in it. So if I was to ask your best friend, what is that one memory that describes Jen as a kid? What do you think they would tell me?
Okay, so I think they would think about my height. So, and because of my height, I was always very good at sports, well, particular sports that benefit from being so tall. So, was really into tennis at a young age, netball, shooting, obviously, and long distance running.
Yeah.
And then I think as I got a bit older, those died down a little bit, and I was the one that got away with looking a bit older than I actually am, so maybe passed for 18, a bit younger than 18, so friends sort of used me to get away with bang alcohol. I'm not going to say at what age. So yeah, there would be a couple of funny things that I guess friends...
Oh, we're never going to hear them, are we?
No.
No.
You don't need to know any more than
But if
that.
you want to track Jen down at an ABCC event and ask this question, I get that. Helen, I have to ask you the same thing, because do you feel like teens, is there like a pivotal moment, anything that sticks out when you look back now?
Teens, I would say any sort of pivotal moment was perhaps later on in my teens. I left school, I think, with an ambition to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to art school in Edinburgh for a year's foundation course, and that was a kind of great way to explore if this was really the career choice for me. But it was the first time I lived in a city, so all of a sudden I was hit by this excitement of all these people around me and all this amazing culture and things to do in a city. And I think it was a really good learning curve in terms of understanding that my career, that I would like to move more towards something that would be in the business world, in that sense that I love being around people and the kind of the fast pace and the excitement, rather than a kind of lonely art studio. So,
well, I hope you still continue.
well, this is it. Yeah. So I went on to.
She's amazing.
I went on to do a degree and then obviously ended up here. But I think great thing that it's come around and that I've started painting a lot more again.
And she does commissions, just to let you know.
Brilliant.
Check out her Instagram page.
We will put this at the bottom, saying here's the links to everything you need to know. No, it's fantastic. I never knew that about you. That's really great to learn that. Talking a little bit more about your childhood and growing up, do you look back and think, yes, this person was like that one influential figure, or that particular thing in my life has now continued to guide me? Do you both have experiences like that?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I would say, I actually lived in Sydney for a year straight after university, then moved home, and then moved back out here. A complicated one there, but when I moved out here, it was straight out of university, and I was very green. It was my first real sort of office job that I was getting into. And my aunt and uncle, so I've got a Scottish uncle but Australian aunt who live here, and my aunt's really amazing career, like really driven, really successful lady who I think she took me under her wing, not only as a niece from the other side of the world, but she really gave me such good guidance on my sort of first steps in my career, sort of almost treated me like a mentee. So I think that she's maintained throughout that, since coming back here.
Yeah.
I see her almost every week, and she takes my career very seriously, and so that's very important.
That's so lovely. That's really nice.
Jealous.
You're jealous. I'm sure you have
family
more.
here.
Yeah, I completely understand. It's really hard when you, especially now, like not having your family close to you. Definitely understand that. But do you feel like you have that one person, that experience that you kind of...
So not one particular experience, but certainly people. So I grew up in Edinburgh and very close to my family, so I've got mum, dad and my two siblings. So my mum and my sister, very sort of strong woman. My sister's a couple of years older than me. She does live with me in Sydney, which certainly helps. But I was pretty shy growing up as a young girl, and Lindsay was the opposite, very confident. So she's definitely helped me. She pulled me sort of out of that as I was growing up in my teens, and even just sort of hanging around her friends probably helped. And then, but my mum is definitely the sort of main person for all of my siblings. She's just such a sort of strong person that's pushed us to do things always. So even pushing us to go to the other side of the world, it was never like, oh no, please don't go, I'll miss you. Which I've experienced with lots of friends, parents, and that's completely fine to feel. But I mean, my mum probably regrets it now after 6.5 years. Okay,
like, come back.
That wasn't the plan. But she's always pushed us to do things. She's never shown sort of nerves or apprehension when I'm sure we've gone off travelling alone, or even holidays at a pretty young age, without parents. She always sort of put trust in us, and I think that's really made me strong and given me the confidence, and also my siblings. So yeah, thanks to my mum.
No, definitely. I think that's really amazing to see that inspiration, and I'm sure even our audience has that, where they look to that one person, but yes, you are definitely the person to look up to. A little bit more about Scotland on that topic. When I was there, the two things that sort of stuck with me, and none of it is healthy, Scottish fudge and fried Mars bars.
Oh,
and I feel like this is the problem I had. I feel like Scotland gets so much of injustice because it's measured on the Mars bar scale.
Yep, absolutely.
So I want, take this opportunity to put this right. I want each of you to tell me what describes Scotland best in terms of food.
Okay, so let's just put something straight. The fried Mars bar thing, we do not eat them. Have you had one?
I have sadly never had one.
See, there we go.
I was taken to a place.
See, it's for tourists.
Exactly. But it was done by a Scottish person, and no, you have to do this. This is a very Scottish thing, and I kind of followed it. I was like, okay, cool.
So yeah, I don't know anyone that's eaten them. I've actually tried a fried Twix bar, and that's only when I was visiting home from Australia about a few years ago. So I need to try one of these that everyone goes on about. So you go to the Chippy, which is the chip shop in Scotland. That's where they're fried. So they're probably fried in the same fryer as your chips, your fish. So yeah, and on that, so a Chippy in Edinburgh is a very special place to go. So you have the Chippy sauce, and you won't know what's in it. I still don't know what's in it.
So don't ask questions.
No, it's better not know. It's amazing. But you go to a Chippy outside of Edinburgh, Chippy sauce doesn't exist. So if you go to a chip shop in Glasgow, you ask for sauce, you just get HP. So I recommend anyone that visiting Edinburgh, please go into Chippy and please ask for fish and chips with Chippy sauce.
Okay.
But no, apart from that unhealthy side, Edinburgh. I'm talking about Edinburgh, I mean bias, but the whole of Scotland's got an amazing food scene, so many Michelin star chefs, the seafood's so fresh, the game, like the guinea fowl and rabbit, those types of meats, which you don't really see here, amazing.
Venison as well.
Venison, yep. So all that, like amazing. And then the one thing, so there's nothing to redefine about it, but I would love to see a bit more of Scotland here. So I'd love to make haggis much more accessible.
Yeah, I don't think it's getting a good reputation.
Well, we can make it good. We can change that. So there's a butcher down in Maroubra that I can find haggis, but that's the only place you can get it. So I'd love to see on menus, who knows, it might be the sort of whiskey bar type place, and you just have little haggis bonbons or little stacked haggis neats and tatties. I think that'd be a good way to get people to try it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be sort of dumped on the plate with the haggis, the mashed potato and the
which is
meats.
why the world kind
doesn't
of
look
away
nice.
from it.
And top that with a bit of creamy whiskey sauce. Like everyone's gonna love it.
No, I'm hungry. And how about you, Helen? Do you feel like there's a dish that you would like to use to redefine the Scottish experience?
Redefine. I think that again, like Jen, I agree. There's so many wonderful Scottish food that's much overlooked. Things like salmon and venison. Brilliant game and really well cooked dishes. But I would say that the Scottish breakfast scene is perhaps a little bit lacking.
Yes.
So I live in Bondi, as most Brits do, and just love the cafe scene for brunches, and I just think that the imagination that goes into them is incredible. I mean, I've sent pictures home to friends of my brunches, and they've said, which dish is that? Like, what meal are you on? Because it's so packed with vegetables and beautiful colours and everything like that. So normally at home you just have your fry up, and that's you're going big for breakfast there.
It's pretty beige, isn't it?
It's so beige and so greasy. So yeah, oh gosh, I would love to bring some avocados and all the beautiful additions of an Australian
Set up a
breakfast.
Bondi Cafe on Princess Street in Edinburgh.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, and good coffee
to do
as well.
this.
Yeah.
Key.
Coffee.
But personally, I feel very cheated now that I've been to Scotland and I've been given the wrong tour of what to eat, because the first thing was you have to have.
So what did you think of it?
In all honesty, in a public forum, let's just say it didn't pass my standards. I kind of just took a bite and I was like, delicious.
They even fried cream eggs. Can you imagine that?
No, I love the fudge. That part I love. So let's stick to the fudge part. That was amazing. I got heaps of it. I was like, oh my god, I want this and this. And yeah, best memory of that, but not the last one. Really. No, but let's just take a little bit of a gear switch here, because Scotland's amazing. You've set up your life here now, and there's so much happening. Sorry about that. I really wanted to touch a little bit about how you ended up in Australia, because Australia doesn't really pop up as, the next door neighbour to Scotland. It's literally on the other side of the world. So, Helen, let's start with you. What really prompted you to go, right, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to move across the world, I'm going to leave everything behind and do this? Because I've had sort of Australia in two parts, I guess it's a sort of broken up story there. I mean, I'd say first off is the TV programme Neighbours. For any Brit who, worth their salt, has been brought up watching Neighbours and dreams of the sunshine and the lifestyle over here. So, and I'm sure it's the same for any Brit, Australia's just always put up there as a pedestal of somewhere beautiful to live. So it seemed like a sensible place to go straight after university and kind of cut my teeth in the working world, but also kind of have an adventure at the same time. So that was kind of the first time around Australia. And the second time was I lived in London for a few years. My company at the time was expanding and decided to open up an office in Sydney. And so they asked me to go over with them to kind of help do the setup. And at the time, knowing then I had a bit of a foothold in Australia, had loved it the first time round, and initially was offered a 3-month posting. Okay. So I just said, well, it's it's January in London, and I'm being offered 3 months in Sydney, and I thought, well, I'd be crazy to give it up. So I left without really thinking too much about it. Just thought, just go with my gut and see what goes. And then 3 months became 6 months, became a year and 9 months with that company, and then I left that company, joined the Chamber. So I'm coming up to 6 years in Australia now for what was meant to be 3 months. I'm sure your family has no questions about that. No questions. Helen's coming back.
Don't ask us that question.
Just avoid.
Yeah.
But has it been similar for you, Jen?
Yep. So similar that it wasn't meant to be this long, and I'm 6.5 years, so we're very similar. So we share that in common. I was travelling around Southeast Asia with my sister. It was the year after I'd finished university. I'd left a job at Lloyd's Banking Group, and the 3 months I was just loving being away, loving life, and the thought of going back to Edinburgh to work at Lloyd's Bank. I don't think so. I'm not ready to go home yet. So I went from. I thought, well, why don't I try a year in Australia? Lots of Brits do it, as you know. It's really easy to get the working holiday visa. Most of them just do 1 year and go home. They might extend to 2 and go home. So I think that was the plan, just to do probably a year or 2.
Yeah.
So I flew from Bali to Darwin, and I ended up in Darwin for 3 months. So that was an amazing experience. But after a few months, I was like, I need to get to the city. I'm from the city.
People.
Yeah. I need to find nice restaurants and be able to go and buy some clothes. And not that Darwin doesn't have that. Recommend it to anyone.
Beautiful, yeah, but I think in its own right,
Yeah.
it's different. Definitely a different thing.
Yeah. So settled in Sydney and sort of worked casually for about 6 months, and then ended up at the Chamber. It's just so easy to stay in Australia. It's so close. It is the other side of the world, as you said, but it is so close. We work, and even just working with the British government out here, the culture is so similar. There's so many Brits here. It just makes it easy, and it's not hard to get mum and dad to come out on holiday. Okay, of course I'll come out and see you.
Just sell that point.
And then we love going home. So it's obviously much harder right now.
Yeah. Again, switching a little bit more. So I really want to talk a little bit about your education, because just like your Aussie journeys, that you kind of ended up in the same place, work-wise, you've ended up in the same kind of career path. but the way you got there is very, very different. To start with you, Jen, you actually studied events and marketing in uni, and then you ended up in this role. Do you feel like that was a natural pull, or was it completely a different experience there?
So towards the end of school, I thought, events was what I wanted to get into, because growing up in Edinburgh, I have the Edinburgh Fringe Festival on my doorstep every August, which I highly recommend again. Edinburgh's getting a big plug.
Yep.
I can't not. So that was always just amazing being part of. I love my music festivals as I got a bit older, and things like the Commonwealth Games and Olympics, and I thought that's what I want to get into, like big events. So events with marketing in Edinburgh, and then sort of through university I thought it was probably actually more the marketing I'd end up in. I thought those big events, you need to really sort of get your foot in the door early. It's hard. So when I left, as I've mentioned earlier, I was at Lloyds Bank, so not doing events, doing pricing, analytics, so completely different. You wonder why I didn't want to go back to travelling around. When I came to Australia and this job popped up, particularly the marketing role at the Chamber, but I knew it was an events organisation. I thought, oh, that sounds amazing. So here I am. Big business events is definitely for me. But looking back at university and learning and the events, studying events at university, it's great, and I don't have any regrets about university, and sort of being in a business school gave me so many skills. But you learn everything about events on the job, particularly in these types of business events. You just need, you need to have an amazing eye for detail, be very organised, probably have OCD, which I do, perfectionist. If you've got that, you can do it. And if anyone's listening and sort of keen to get involved in events, it's just get experience, go to university if you want, absolutely. But part-time work in events, internships, work experience, that's where you're really going to learn.
Perfectionist, I've never picked up that. Not at all, not even the slightest. Helen, your journey is a little bit more different, and like you said, you pretty much are an artist. You did classical studies, then you went into research, editorial, and now you're in this field. Do you feel like that has been an organic growth coming into events and marketing, membership handling, or was that just something that happened by chance?
I would say that it's sort of a bit of both, in that, so obviously went into university, classical studies. I feel it's always taken this quite a sort of strange one in Australia, because why anyone would study classical studies with any hope of any career mystifies a lot of people. But in the UK it's obviously a lot more of a thing just to study things that you're really passionate about. So loved the ancient Greek literature and arts and that side of things. So as well as being into art, I also loved the kind of literature side of things. So came out to the university with a strong idea of wanting to be involved in something to do with content, writing, creation, that side of things. So it was more of a way of working out as I went. I got into research at a financial PR firm, and then moved across to editorial work for an online newspaper. So for that, I honed a lot of skills in terms of content creation, writing, research and material, that side of things. But also in the newspaper, kind of dealing with people from all walks of life, resolving issues, that sort of things. So really kind of all those sort of things that came together when this role came up, it kind of bonded that together. The membership side I get to deal with people, the marketing side, my CEO's given me great free rein to explore different types of content avenues, and I get to write. So I'm very, it's very fortuitous the way it's all turned out.
The one thing that I picked up that is common again between the two of you is you've definitely traveled quite a bit, like even with career, even for personal growth, and that's pretty amazing. And I think the reason I want to touch on that is because as someone who's quite young, who gets on a plane and goes to another country, that really changes you. How has that impacted each of your lives? How has travel played a role in your lives?
So we've both done a lot of travelling, as you said, we've got that in common. And we've both done a lot of solo travelling actually, which is something I never thought I'd want to do. Why the hell would you want to go away
alone
by yourself, spend lots of money on a lovely holiday, be yourself? Anyway, it happened by chance the first time I did it, and then loved it and will continue to. When you're by yourself, you're forced to speak to more people. If you're with your friend, you've got each other, so of course you'll meet people, but not as much. I think you sort of soak in the culture more when you're by yourself. I certainly do. I probably read and take it in much more. You've not got the distraction of someone sort of chatting away to. What I love about travelling is going to countries that are just completely opposite to where we live. So whether it's around Asia or Africa, they're the sort of holidays that are really memorable for me. I mean, of course, I love to go to a 5-star resort and just lie by a pool and have cocktails for a few nights. You know, love that. But they're the kind of holidays that you might not talk about in sort of 5-10 years. You probably forget about that eventually. Whereas the holidays that I'll speak about forever are, you know, going around Vietnam by myself or going to South Africa, and particularly when you go into countries that are maybe poorer than ours and slightly more developing, that's when I feel like you develop as a person and you can learn a lot from them. You appreciate, you know, what we've got much more. And you can also, what I like about it is you sort of can take a leaf out of their book. You know, what I experienced in countries like even Cambodia, I saw such poverty, and they just seem so happy. They're content. They're just happy with being with their families. As long as they've got their family, they've got amazing food. You know, food's obviously a thing in those types of cultures. They're not bothered about the sort of hunger and the materialistic things that our cultures, you know, are used to. So, that's what I love about travelling.
Has it been similar for you, Helen?
Yeah, I'd say so, for sure. And it's been amazing to be in Australia as a sort of different launching pad, you know, to explore this side of the world. So you know, as Jen said, there's sort of understanding more about the world, but also seeing incredible places. And I think that what I found that came out of my journeys is possibly as well just the sort of confidence in yourself, that if you're in a sort of sticky situation, whether it's sort of lost down some back streets of an obscure city in Europe, or you know, haggling with the tuk-tuk driver in India, or you know, trying to make your way up to a mountain in Sri Lanka, it's sort of having confidence in yourself that you'll be able to get your hand off yourself in the situation, and the sort of amazing kindness that you find of strangers when you're travelling as well. I think it's really formative in that sense.
So the advice to all the university kids who are listening in, or the graduates, as soon as you can, get on a plane.
Absolutely, if you can.
Follow the advice. No, that's wonderful.
And even if the country doesn't speak English, you know, you'll find your way. Yeah.
There's always a way. Yeah, that's really great. I love that part. To sort of come to the end of this, because what I touched on before is something that I really, really love about the two of you is the friendship you've created and the support system that you found in each other. And I think that's really, really important as women in business, and just, you know, moving to a country, and even, you know, a career like events and management, right? How important do you think that is for you personally, and what is your advice around, you know, that support system and creating that friendship for yourself?
Gosh,
Helen.
So I think that we're incredibly fortunate, Jen and I, to have each other. Jen was actually one of the people that interviewed me when I started my role. So I think it was one of those things where our CEO understood that it was important that we got on. And it was
bonded
immediate.
Straight away.
Exactly, that's it. I think not just having a shared background, but you know, we've got really similar attitudes to things. We're going through such similar experiences inside and in and out of work. So it's amazing, and I think that, you know, the way that Jen and I's relationship has developed, you know, we're just such a support system for one another. As Jen mentioned earlier, all my friends know her as my work wife, and I think it's just as well, like, knowing that someone understands where you're from, and you know, I think that I lose words for it, because she means well to me.
So has it been a very similar experience for you? Or?
Absolutely. So obviously I echo everything that she said. She's also my work wife. We're very lucky to have each other. I remember her first interview, and I just thought, please come and work with me. She'd actually been offered another job, a bit better paid, and then to sort of get on the phone to be like, you won't regret this.
Please don't leave me.
But yeah, having a friend at work, but also, you know, a colleague, and it helps obviously that we have the very similar work ethic, and we can, of course, we've got our different roles, but we can also help each other. You know, if I was off for something urgent and vice versa, we can sort of pick up each other's work. We work so closely, I kind of know what she's working on, she knows what I'm working on, of course we can work it out. You know, I can go home to my sister, my partner, and whether not that we have to complain about work often, but of course things crop up, or even something's bad's happened, maybe something's gone wrong at the event, and you go home to those people, and of course they listen and they'll give you their advice or whatever it might be, but they don't fully understand. They've not witnessed it, they've not gone through it, whereas Helen's been in the same room as me, so I can phone her that night and cry if I want to, or ask her advice on something, and she just fully gets it, and that's just so valuable. And that's what I love about it. God help whoever leaves, or God help the person that's left in the chamber after someone leaves. We might just need to leave together.
That's it.
We'll go to the next employer together.
Just go together.
Exactly.
What you need to hire us, No, but I think that's really, really wonderful, and that's quite inspirational, because I think each of us needs to find that, and that's the happy place, that's the comfort of knowing, you have that one person at least that you can just call up, like you say, in the middle of the night and say, I need to cry this out. Great. So to wrap up our session with Jen and Helen, we're going to, of course, finish Inspiration Room with our rapid fire round. And Jen,
oh dear,
you're going to start. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Jen in 10 years will be?
Running her own business.
Amazing. One thing you love about Australia?
The sunshine.
One thing you love about the UK?
My family.
Social media to you is?
Going too far.
One thing from your bucket list?
Everest Base Camp, which I was meant to be doing next year.
Okay, fingers crossed you get to do that. In the absence of travel, you have?
I have bought a keyboard and teaching myself again. One day it'll be a piano. Keyboard for now, yeah.
Oh, you meant music keyboard?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Do you thought keyboard?
I don't know.
A boring keyboard for my computer.
She's got her own one now.
Yeah, that's special.
Musical keyboard.
Artist, musician.
Yeah.
I see the flow now. All right, choices quickly. Books or movies?
Movies.
Downton Abbey or Home and Away?
Downtown.
Favorite Avenger, Thor or Captain America?
Thor.
A little bit of bias there. All right, 3 things you can't leave the house without.
It's got to be the mobile. My lip balm, I'm obsessed with, and water bottle.
Okay. 3 things you remember about a person when you meet them.
Their height, their accents, and their teeth.
Interesting, okay. Quickly then, one thing you wish people knew about you.
Maybe that I'm not as confident as they think I am.
You're oozing with confidence. But I think we're hardest on ourselves.
Yep.
So, yeah, completely understand that. All right, one thing you tell a fresh graduate.
Be confident, but get experience. Internships I said earlier.
Yeah.
Internships, work experience.
Okay. One thing you'd do over, if any.
It's easier said than done, but be more confident at a younger age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And your last one thing you are excited about for 2021.
Seeing my family.
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point. All right, well done. That was really good. Helen, you're next.
I don't think I'll be nearly as epic.
You will be. All right, rapid fire starts now then. Helen in 10 years will be?
Homeowner.
Homeowner. Right. Okay, big dreams. It's wonderful. Favorite food?
It's gonna be pizza.
Not haggis.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's off brand.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer.
All right, your
Haggis
cheat
pizza.
meal. Haggis pizza. There we go. 3 to 1. Staying on the food topic, your cheat meal.
Oh, probably the same answer. Yeah,
Pizza?
a pizza.
Pizza. Okay. One thing from your bucket list.
Glastonbury.
Right. And in the absence of travel, you have?
Explored New South Wales.
Really? Oh, wonderful. Wine and dine or brunch and coffee?
Wine and dine.
Beach day or mountain hikes?
Mountain hikes.
Favorite Avenger, Thor or Captain America?
Definitely Thor.
Oh, no favorites for Captain America. So
Sorry.
heartbroken. All right. 3 things you can't leave the house without.
Phone, headphones, keys.
3 things you remember about a person when you meet them.
I'd say demeanour, name. I'm really good at both of those. And yeah, probably just their face as well.
Okay, wonderful. One thing you wish people knew about you.
Oh, that I'm Scottish. I have to justify it the whole time.
Yeah, I'm Scottish. All right. One thing you wish every businesswoman did.
Make sure that they're approachable.
Okay, right. One thing you'd tell a fresh graduate.
I suppose it just have tenacity. You know, if something's you're not on the right career quite yet, to make sure that you're doing other things and other, you know, outside work to make sure that you're getting towards that goal.
Yeah. Wonderful, brilliant. Right, your last one then. One thing you are excited about for 2021.
Similarly, seeing my family. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's I think everyone's dream is like, yeah, let's get out to see all the people that we haven't seen in over almost a year now. Close to. Yeah. But no, that kind of wraps up our rapid fire. I think you do really well. Thank you. But no, on behalf of UK Department of International Trade and all of us here, thank you so much for coming on Inspiration Women. We do truly appreciate your time, and I think both of you are fantastic, and it's been a real privilege to work with you, but also get to know you off work. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
We're very, very honoured to be asked, so thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great. Well, that wraps up our third episode, and hopefully we'll see you for the next one in January. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.